What if everything you have deemed as impossible really was possible? What have you known and believed was possible your whole life? You just didn't know how to actualize it. Come and discover a world of infinite possibilities on Outside the Impossible with Venus Castleberg. On this show, we will share pragmatic tools to create the life and living you truly desire. And now, your host, Venus Castleberg.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. I am so excited for our guest today. She's been a longtime friend of mine. I remember a time when we actually talked almost daily. It's Alison Cox, and Alison Cox is a certified facilitator of Access Consciousness and owner of Alivio. Is that how you say it?
Alivio.
Alivio Massage Therapy in Denver, Colorado. I love it. She has been working internationally with people, bodies, and animals for over 7 years. You can find more information on classes and sessions at myacousticlife.com. By the way, love the website name. That's awesome. Yeah. And for me personally, Alison has just been, I would say, like the embodiment of joy. And we always laugh a lot together, even if we're laughing at ourselves, and have this like lightness of heart. So thank you so much for being here on the show today.
Thank you. I feel the same way about you.
Sweet. So let's just start. Like, how did you find Access Consciousness, or what was that discovery like for you?
Well, back in the day, I was actually just out of massage school, and I wanted to be really cool. I'm like, all right, I have massage down now. Now I want to be really cool and like hippie and earthy and have like an energy thing with my massage practice. And I tried Reiki and all these other modalities, and which I love, but they just weren't quite my thing. And one day, my friend was like, you should try the bars. It'll change your life. I was like, okay. She's like, well, at least you can take a one-day class and you'll be certified to do energy work. I'm like, boom, I'll do it. So I took a class, and then it just kind of snowballed from there. Then I couldn't get enough classes. And here I am today, like 8 years later, something crazy.
Wow, that's awesome. And I know we touched on a little in your introduction, but I'd love for you to say more about like, what did you end up doing with Access Consciousness? Because I know you became a certified facilitator, but you're also a Conscious Horse, Conscious Riders facilitator and a Talk to the Entities facilitator. Can you talk a little bit about those things?
Yeah. I first, totally, I had no idea that I was going to get into either one of those things. I didn't even really know. I knew I wanted to be a certified facilitator, didn't really know what that meant or how that was going to look. And it's been quite the journey, and it's been amazing. But then one day I saw that you could also, I didn't really know if I believed in ghosts or not. I was actually more terrified of them than wanted to believe in them. But I saw in the Access Consciousness specialty classes that you could take a class called Talk to the Entities. And I was like, wow, that's real. Like, there's a class on that. So I took the class, and it completely changed my life. I was no longer afraid of ghosts. I actually found out that I was more aware of them and was communicating with them all the time. And it really just took a whole, like this sense of anxiety that had been there my whole life out of something that was limiting me and allowed me to just become more aware of what was communicating with me, what I was communicating with, what was around me. And it just started to expand that. And that was, 4 or 5 years ago. And then after that, a year and a half ago, using all those tools with communication without speaking, because you can't really just talk to ghosts. It's more of a telepathic or like an awareness, having a sense of what's going on around you. That also helps a lot when you're communicating with animals. So started dabbling in that. And one day in one of the classes a couple years ago, they're like, if you could choose anything, like it didn't matter your skill set and it didn't matter if you even knew how to do it or like if it makes you excited or even uncomfortable, what would you choose if you could have anything? And I think it was New Year's and I was just sitting there by myself with my dog or something. I'm like, okay, so this year, what if I could choose anything? And I kind of went back to when I was a kid. I'm like, gosh, what did I really like to do when I was a kid that I never got a chance to achieve or do? And I was like, horses. I was obsessed with horses when I was a kid. I would draw them every day and like make my parents pull over on the side of the road to see them so I could at least pet them or whatever, just look at them. They're like, okay, we gotta go. But I was like, okay, horses. So I just asked the universe. I was like, all right, universe, I would like to include horses in my life, whatever that looks like. The first thing that showed up was equine massage therapy. So I became certified in equine massage therapy. And then Conscious Horse, Conscious Rider facilitators training showed up. And I was like, I'm going to do that. And lo and behold, now that's the majority of what I do as a facilitator.
The Conscious Horse, Conscious Rider.
Yep, Conscious Horse, kind of Conscious Horse, Conscious Rider, and talk to the entities too a lot.
Yep. Nice. Yeah. And I do know you actually even travel around the world to do these classes. I think you were in India and yeah. How cool is that?
Yep, all over. I included that in my ask too. Like I would also like to travel at least a couple weeks out of the month, every month. And that's definitely been showing up. I'm like, there's a lot.
Yeah. That's great. It's just an inspiration to know, all you got to do is ask, ask for what it is you want and then it'll show up. But the key is you got to ask. Yep. So with, I named this show Outside the Impossible really as an invitation to telling people, okay, anything that you have deemed as impossible really is possible. And you kind of have touched on that by saying, what did I really want to do with my life? But was there some other place in your life or other, area of your life that you changed that you thought was impossible to change and you changed them by using the Access tools?
Yes, like every day. But let me
Right, yeah, I know, all the time. We have hundreds of them, but we'll just start with a few.
Let me think here. I guess it was like not the biggest one, but the one that's popping up right now is right when Access popped into my life. Because I was at a point where I had kind of like done everything I wanted to, quote unquote. I had taught English in Korea and I traveled Southeast Asia and then I went to massage school and it was like all of a sudden I got it in my head like, oh shoot, do I have to grow up now? Like, am I supposed to, I think I was like 31 or 32. I'm like, do I have to buy a house? Do I have to get married? Like all this pressure just started building up. I'm like, I don't think I want to do all that, but I have to do that because that's like the next step and I'm a little late. I'm like in the 30s. What else is possible? I basically was just already asking that question, and that's when Access showed up, and it allowed me to start knowing what I know about questions and using them in more of I wouldn't say a constructive way, but kind of a more expansive way than I was just about to give up is what was about to happen, and just kind of go with the flow and do whatever I was supposed to as a good person and die correctly, and who knows what would have happened had I gone down that road of the things that weren't actually something that I wanted. And ever since then, my life, using the tools of Access Consciousness, like literally waking up every morning asking what else is possible I haven't considered. Things show up every day and my life gets weirder and weirder and weirder and more fun and more like me. And I literally can't imagine where I would be right now if I didn't have these tools.
Right. Totally. Wait, was there a time when we didn't have these tools? There was, actually.
I know. I don't know how that worked.
Right? I know. It was like, that was just chaos in a basket, man. Cool. So, Access has just been such a gift, I think, to us both. And but it's really cool because you actually chose, when I said, what topic do you want to talk about? You were like, the gift of unpredictable. And I was like, that's brilliant. And I would love to hear more about that. So how do you see unpredictable as a gift?
As a gift. Oh my gosh. When I picked that title, I was like, wow, I love the title. And what am I going to say about that? And I think you asked me, I don't know how long ago, but so many things have been popping up, even a lot today, of the gift of unpredictable. Because most of the time in this society or in the world, you want to know what's going to happen before you choose it. You want to know that it's safe, or know that you're going to be okay, or know that it's going to work, or know that you're going to win and not lose before you choose anything. Or know that you aren't going to lose all of your money or something if you choose this thing. Where if you actually want your life to explode and expand in the ways you always wished it would, you actually have to get rid of all of those predictions and have no expectations. You can still ask for anything, but have no expectation or no predictions of how that thing is going to show up. Does that help at all?
Wait. I know there's people out there going, wait, I thought that I was supposed to, like, get married, have 2.5 kids, find my career, do my career forever, live in the same house till I die. There's a plan, there's a formula to living life. How on earth do you live your life unpredictable?
I'm like, snore. No, just kidding.
It's boring.
Because really, if you take relationships as a perfect example, I was just reading, someone on Facebook wrote, like, what's the best relationship advice anyone's ever given you? And I was like, I don't know if anyone ever gave this to me, but what I would say was, like, never expect it to be predictable. So I put that in a little thing, and I was like, oh, cool, that, because I had this call in mind. I'm like, but if you had a relationship and every day you knew what was going to happen, and that person had to give you exactly what you knew was going to happen, and you had to be exactly what that person expected of you every single day and be totally predictable, how fun does that sound? Or would it be more fun for, like, new things to show up, or new adventures, or things that you, like, if you just asked, how can our relationship show up greater today than it was yesterday, your relationship is going to be completely different, and you can't really predict greater. All you know that it is it's going to be greater, and then your relationship is no longer this predictable thing that you get to maintain, and if it goes outside of the boundaries at all, then your relationship is bad. You get to ask, hey, what would it take for my relationship to be unpredictable? What would it take for it to be greater than yesterday? And let those things show up. And you can ask that every day. So every day you have an unpredictable relationship. And I don't know about you, but does that sound more fun than maintaining your relationship?
It does sound like more fun. And I know that, like, even I had this in the past, was like, there's this energy of, like, if I don't have control, it's almost like unpredictable is out of control.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, if I don't have control, then won't that just create a mess in my life?
Right? No. Yeah, that's what most people think, and that's what I'm like. Nobody's perfect. I still try to control things, but when things don't work, I'm like, wait, am I trying to control this, or am I actually, like, being an allowance of me, the other person, or the other thing, choosing what they're choosing? The control thing, kind of the same idea. If you try to control everything, but something happens where the thing you're trying to control kind of malfunctions or takes a spin this way, or maybe they want to do something else. If anything goes outside of your idea of what you would like to control, anything goes outside the idea of what your box is, the box of control, then you feel like you're out of control because that thing's not doing what you want it to. Ooh, more on that with horses later. Instead of allowing yourself to be like, okay, this person or this thing is doing this right now. Do I want to stay here and play with that thing or that person? Do I want to do something that will complement that person? Or do I want to just let them do their thing and leave and go do my own thing? And in that way, you start giving yourself more choices and more possibility instead of focusing on the control or the problem or that person's not doing what you want mentality.
Well, what about like even yourself? Like if you're not talking about like how do you practice being unpredictable in the energy of being unpredictable with yourself?
With myself, oh my gosh. Well, yesterday I bought a horse. I didn't think I was going to buy. I had a friend ring me up like the other week, and she's like, this horse does not live in the United States. I live in Denver. This horse lives in Costa Rica. She lives in Texas. She loves that horse. She wanted it to go to someone that she trusted and whatever. So she called me up and she's like, hey, would you like to buy my horse in Costa Rica? I'm like, huh. I'm like, what? I'm like, that makes no sense to me. I don't have enough money. That would be a control thing. That would keep me from choosing that. Don't have the money, can't afford it. I don't go to Costa Rica that often. Why would I buy a horse that's in Costa Rica? Doesn't make any sense. That would be out of control. That would, like, who does that? But then I was asking questions. I'm like, okay, will this contribute to my life? Will this create greater? Will the horse contribute to me? Can I contribute to the horse? Is this going to create something that's out of my control, that's unpredictable, that I can't really see yet or define, but will create greater in my future? And I got a big fat yes. So yesterday I bought the horse that I've never met that lives in Costa Rica that I might not see for months.
Well, that's a great example of being unpredictable with yourself. We're going to take a short break here, so we'll be right back. After the break, we'll talk more about unpredictable in horses. If you have any questions for Alison, call in 202-570-7057.
The best of the holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
OMTimes magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. Connect at omtimes.com. OMTimes, creating a more conscious lifestyle.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me the Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
Is it time to create a different and greater world? Through research, we can explore paths to new and exciting possibilities. The Hope Foundation for Possibilities and Change is a research-based, not-for-profit organization dedicated to exploring, discovering, and creating a different future for all. Your donations make this happen. You can contribute at foundationforpossibilities.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. My name is Venus Castleberg, and I'm here with Alison Cox, and we're talking about the gift of unpredictable. And right before the break, you were talking about how unpredictable it was to buy a horse, but I've also heard you reference the unpredictability of horses. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Totally. I have learned. So horses have a great way of facilitating you with whatever you are going through in your life or asking for or literally anything. They will do the best of their ability to facilitate you in creating more for you and for them. So sometimes it's so funny. So I've been with horses where it's just me and I get to do my own thing and play around. And I've also been in situations where I am taking lessons from a horse, like with a trainer, and they're telling me what to do, and they need me to do a certain way, a certain thing a certain way, with my heels down and my chest up and my back, and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I don't know if this is my thing, but it is such a good exercise to watch, like, horses. Oh my gosh, let me back up here a little bit. A horse doesn't know what it's going to be doing in the next 10 seconds. It kind of goes with the energy of the moment and what it's going to create in the future. So if a horse gets spooked by an invisible dragon, it's going to get away from that dragon. And if that happens to be while you're on the horse or around the horse, you are going to have to be aware of that. It's not like every single day this horse is going to be perfect or how you expect it or predict it to be. Horses are different every single day. Sometimes they're grumpy. Sometimes they'll hang out with you and love you. Sometimes they will do nothing that you ask of them. And you literally have no idea what they're going to be like that day with you based on how you're being, how they're being, what's going on in the environment around them. So horses are just amazing. I guess a good example, and also I would just like to say that being unpredictable doesn't mean that everything has to be crazy and like, oh my God. I remember in a class, I think they asked, like, there was a question in Ireland, we were at an Access Consciousness class, and they're like, your homework tonight is to ask for the most bizarre thing to show up tonight that has never existed before for you, or something like that. So I asked that question, and I'm like, ooh, I wonder what's going to show up tonight. And I got so tired that I just went to bed at like 8 o'clock and slept until about 7 in the morning, and woke up and I was like, that is bizarre for me. Interesting. So it's not that everything has to be crazy.
I slept for 11 hours. Yeah.
Right. Wow, bizarre. and cool. But so the other day, I brought a friend out to these horses that I work with a lot in Denver, and usually, like, everything was going great. We brought my friend into their pen, and they were just loving on him, and he was like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is like therapy. I'm like, yeah, yay. Like, I knew you'd love it. And then I'm like, well, let's take one of the horses out to work them in the round pen, which I thought would be, pretty easy. We do that all the time. They love it. We took the horse out. Oops, are you still there? Oh. Took the horse out to the round pen. We're running the horse around the round pen, and all of a sudden the wind blew the door open, and the horse looked back, looked at the door, looked at me, and I'm like, oh no, you don't. And the horse went sprinting outside, running away. I've never had to catch like a wild horse before running around all over the place. I'm like, okay. So I'm like, didn't expect this one to show up. So I just used like every single tool that I knew in Access Consciousness and in Conscious Horse, Conscious Rider, and I expanded my energy way out. I didn't freak out. I calmly kept walking towards the horse, who was like around all the stallions, like making them insane, and then sprinted over to her friends, making them insane, and I just kept calm and kept walking towards her. And finally, just walked up to her like I was in the pen with her. I just was the energy of like, hey, this is normal, and hooked onto her halter and was able to bring her back to the pen door. Open the pen door. Usually it's easy for me to get the horses back in, but this time another horse decided to run me over and escape. So now I have one horse in one hand with a rope, and I grabbed onto the other horse's mane with my hand, and all I knew, I'm like, okay, here we go again. So I have these two horses outside of the pen. All I knew was to not let go of this other horse's mane. They're pretty young. They're only like 3 years old, so they're a little cray-cray, and not trained. And so my friend finally, I'm just like, with the horses, I'm like trying to telepathically tell my friend who doesn't even know that he knows how to do that, to come do something. So finally he grabs the one horse, and I have to grab onto this other horse who's running me all over the place. And still I'm just staying calm. I'm like, all I know is I have to hold on. All I know is I have to hold on. What energy do I need to be that is going to outcreate all of this? And I just kept asking questions, and eventually I got the horse to calm down, stand still, and my friend brought another halter, and we were able to get the horses back in. And the gift in all of that was a bunch of things. I got to acknowledge myself for everything that I was willing to be and could actually handle that I didn't know that I could handle, like had no clue. That was probably one of my biggest nightmares. Also, the owner of the property was watching the whole thing that I didn't know she was. I was like, oh, sorry, I just let all of your horses out, but I got it. But she came, I'm like, I'm going to be in so much trouble. But she came up to me and she's like, oh my gosh, she's like, good job. Like, we need to have more halters out here in case that happens again. I'm like, oh. But we just had the best conversation, and she got to see that I, quote unquote, not knew what I was doing, but that I could handle it. And like the trust that she gained for me and that I gained for her, it was just this really cool communion that we both got to have afterwards. And so she's like, she was just so grateful, and like it increased our like friendship, everything. It was just so cool. So the gift of that, I couldn't have predicted that at all. And the gift that it gave me afterwards was like huge. Plus the person I brought out there was a PTSD war veteran. And he was just like, wow. He's like, I didn't even know. That was like the same energy that I noticed when I was like in the war, but it was different. Like, it was exciting and calm and like fun, not exciting, terrifying and whatever. And so him even being able to perceive everything that was going on, and my like excitement / he thought fear, like really changed a lot for him too. So it was just one of the most crazy, unpredictable horse stories ever so far.
So far. I like how you do. You're like, so far. We could have another one for sure.
We could have another one. I can handle it.
That's great. So what did you learn about yourself in that instance?
Yeah, that I can handle way more than I think I can. Like, anything that and I kind of knew this about myself, like, even way back when moving to Korea. I didn't know anything about Korea. Everyone's like, why are you moving to Korea? I'm like, I don't know. It just feels fun, and I don't have any money, and they pay for my flight, and they're going to pay me to teach English. I don't know. Why wouldn't you do it? Or like, that was like 10 years ago. Or anything, I knew that anything that I jumped into, I could get it to work, or it would always turn out okay or good or who knows what. Or at least I would still be alive afterwards. But this time, that was just so in my face, and horses are so strong and so big that it really showed me that I truly can handle anything. So anything that happens with horses, or anything that you learn in the classes, or if you're just around horses, that any energy or any awareness that you get, you can actually use in every other area of your life, whether it's relationships or business or creating classes or anything. They will show you and facilitate you into greater for whatever you are asking for.
Could you give an example of how that might happen? Because some people are like, it's just a horse.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Right? And you're like...
Yep. Wait till you get around them. A great example. So there's this exercise that we do in the class where either you have a lunge cord, which is just a big long rope connected to the horse and you're holding it, or you can bring them in the round pen, which is just an enclosed pen if the door doesn't fly open from the wind. And then you get to use your energy to get the horse to move around, either on the rope or in the pen. And it's like, it looks really easy. If someone's good with energy and not leading the horse, but I forget the word right now. You basically drive the horse with energy into the direction that you would like them to go. And if you're not being an energy that the horse is actually going to listen to, the horse is not going to move. It's not going to go where you want it to. It's either going to stand there, or if there's food, it will go to the food, or it'll go to the door and be like, this is boring. Get me out of here. So with how you would apply that to your life, you would see where if you got the horse to move, if the horse did what you asked it to, what were you being an energy that was actually driving the horse to go where you'd like? And then you could ask, like, okay, well, how is your family life working? Do you drive your family to get them to do what you would like? Or business, it's great in business, like if you're working with a team, is your team kind of all over the place? Do they listen to you? Do people at work listen to you? Are you being an energy that's actually being the leader? Or are you being just kind of a thing that people don't really want to pay attention to, but they kind of have to because you're stuck in an enclosed case with them? And so the more you work with the horses and you use the energy, and you, like, in the class we actually are like, okay, well, what energy could you be that would get this horse to move? And it is so cool to see the people change and the energy change, and then what happens after that when they bring that energy into their business life or their family or their relationships or anything. Like 99% of the people are able to have their life show up totally different than it had before they weren't willing to be that energy of leadership and question and demand.
Oh, that's really amazing. So when you're facilitating, and this is unpredictable because I didn't think we were going to talk about horses today, but awesome. How does it get better? So when you're doing a conscious horse, conscious rider, what is that class about? Like, what are you trying to show people? What is it? Yeah.
There are, oh my gosh, every class is different and unpredictable. Duh. But so it basically depends on every single individual that's in there and their asks. The main three things that we, like if you go to the website, conscioushorse.com, it's trying to show people leadership, presence, and trust. And that can be with themselves, leadership, presence, and trust with themselves first and foremost. And then also allowing themselves to trust other beings to be exactly what they're being. Leadership, trust, and presence is what's mainly happening in the class, but it just depends on what they're asking for. And I'm trying to even think of an example of that right now. Now all the classes are flashing through my head. Oh, so there was a gentleman in the Iceland class last year who, like always, he's heard the Access Consciousness tools, and like he's heard that consciousness has your back and things like that, but he never really like got that anything could truly have his back. So we did another exercise that we do in the class, which is the trust exercise, where you get up on the horse bareback. If you're comfortable there on the horse, then you lean back on the horse so that your back just rests on the horse's back and butt, and your head rests on the butt. And that brings up so much for people. I couldn't explain in words what it changes for the person and the horse, but he just started crying. The horse started shifting and almost like chiropracting his back. The horse was yawning all over the place. He's just like crying, like who knows what the heck happened during that session. But after they were there for a while with each other, he was like, wow, like I never realized that something could actually have my back until now. Quite literally, it was on. His back was on the horse. But he's like, I totally get how much this horse has my back, how much it's taking care of me. And then he got to see other places in his life where people did have his back that he wasn't able to see before. Because if you think that the whole world is out to get you, and that's your point of view, you're never going to be able to receive where other people actually do have your back and where people actually don't. And after that session, he was just like, like on another level with receiving and trust and presence and gratitude. And it was really, really cool.
That's beautiful. Yeah, my whole family, my mom, my partner, and his daughter, who's also my daughter, all took the Conscious Horse, Conscious Rider, and my daughter, I've never seen her more present. Like,
Aw.
she was so present, and she's like in total, she's like head over heels for horses. She'd never been around horses before,
Wow.
but she got to experience, what it was like to actually be embodied, to be present.
Wow.
And
I have goosebumps.
I know. So I'm like, okay, let's get her around the horses some more. She loves horses. So yeah.
And another thing is they don't judge. Like, one thing, it's a little bit harder to actually be present with yourself or present with something else, with people, because we all kind of have our points of view, our judgments, things like that. So, and we have our automatic systems that either put barriers up or put barriers down. But with horses, like, your barriers could come up, but they don't have a judgment of it. So it's way easier for you to let all of that go. Or if you realize you don't actually have all of those barriers, you can just be with the horse and actually just start, being at peace for the first time, or just a place where you can be at peace is with horses.
Well, it sounds like such a gift. So I highly recommend everyone go out and take a Conscious Horse, Conscious Rider class.
Totally.
And where are you going to be next time? Where's your next class, Alison?
Oh, God. The next one, I forget, either Czech Republic, I think, is the next one.
What?
Or-
That sounds like an easy trip. Everybody go to the Czech Republic for Conscious Horse, Conscious Rider.
There's
You
a
got
bunch
this.
coming up. There'll definitely be one in Denver, Czech Republic, Iceland, England, Russia. There's a bunch coming up. And
Cool.
you can find them, on the website, too.
Great. Well, I'd love to talk some more about the miracles with horses. We'll do so right after this break. If you want to call in and ask Alison any questions at all, you can call 202-570-7057.
The best of holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. AscendingHearts.com.
I'm Kathy Williams, host of Sexy Mom Abundant Life radio show on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. On the show, we explore living abundantly in every area of your life. Ways to let go of limiting patterns and beliefs and to step into the flow of creativity and possibility, knowing you are supported by the universe.
Imagine being fired because of who you love. Imagine being denied medical treatment because of who you marry. Imagine being evicted because of who you are. Millions of Americans don't have to imagine this. They have to live it. Because in 31 states, it's legal to discriminate against LGBT people. Get the facts at beyondido.org. Brought to you by the Guild Foundation and the Ad Council.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I'm here with Alison Cox, and we're talking about the gift of unpredictable. Right before the break, Alison, you were sharing some amazing stories and like the gift of the unpredictability of horses. Could you share like a couple of stories about changes that you did see that you with the horses that you never thought was possible?
Yes. Totally. There's one that's already popping. God, there's a bunch of those too, but one that's popping right now is there's this horse, Lily, who I love, and when I first met her, and actually when she came to the ranch that she's on now, like nobody could touch her, no one could catch her. She didn't really like being around people. She had a lot of trauma, or that's what they said, and so I was like, okay, interesting point of view. Everyone has all this point of view. But she always kind of like liked me, and I was basically the only one that could catch her. Usually, I was like, I don't know, you just walk up to her and catch her. But she still was like really skittish and didn't really like everybody. So one day I took her out to go out to a round pen, and she was like freaking out. She hadn't really been taken out of the pen with all of her buddies since she was purchased and brought there. And so like everything was terrifying to her, and she would just jump at like every leaf that moved and the wind and nothing, and she was just like, ah, like kind of a spaz. So I brought her in the round pen, started her running around, and she was still pretty like high strung. She's actually on my Instagram. I have like the different days of working with her to where she like day 1 versus day 3, and it is like unbelievable. But she was like kicking and spazzy and like not paying attention, and I was just like, okay. So with horses, you don't know what's going to show up every day. You just kind of have to invite them into a new possibility, even if it's just like a 0.5% change, and just celebrate that. So with her, running her around, she kind of went around in the round pen a little bit both ways, but was still just kind of crazy. So I asked my friend to help me do something called expand her zone, so everything has a zone of awareness. People have it, mice have it, horses have it, dogs have it, and if their zone is collapsed, they aren't as aware as they would like to be, so they're only focused on a way smaller zone of awareness than what actually makes them happy. So her zone was collapsed, and in the class we show you how to expand their zone. You just kind of pull your hands up and energetically ask the zone to expand. I had my friend help me with that. We did it. She was still pretty spazzy. Put her back into her back with her friends for the day, and then came back the next day. And the next day, this horse was a completely different horse. Like even the ranch hand, he was like, "What did you do yesterday?" I was like, "We just used the tools and asked some questions and expanded her zone and and potted some stuff and." But she like let him go. He's like, I got to walk right up to her, took her out. She was calm. I took her out too to go work her some more in the round pen, and she was just like, let's smell this. Let's go over here. Ah, isn't this a lovely flower? Basically like super calm, and like she did this every day a billion times with no problem, wasn't scared of anything. A car drove by. Like this dumpster truck came by too, and she was just like, oh, that's nice, like nothing. And she ran around the round pen. I got her to jump over like a crossbar. She jumped over that both ways. She'd never had a saddle on her before, so we put like a bareback saddle. I put a bareback saddle on her. She was a little scared at first, but then let me put it on her, strapped it on. She was running around with that on it, no problem, wasn't bucking it at all, which is really common if a horse has never had something on their back. They will try to buck it off, but she's like, this is cool too. So that was one of the like craziest changes in one day that I've ever seen so far with a horse.
That's amazing. And so how about with people? How have you seen people change with the conscious horse, conscious rider?
Oh gosh, just like their confidence and their faces and their bodies. Let's see if there's a specific one pops up. There's just so many. Let's see. Give me one, universe. Do
you have a story maybe of somebody who was afraid of horses?
Oh, yes, I have. Yes, thank you. I'm like, too many. So the majority, actually, it's funny, like people who have come to the class. So the class, people who have never been around horses come to these classes, and then people who own horses and have been around horses forever have come to the class. Oh, yay, I have one. And So there was a class in Belgium, and this girl, she actually worked at the ranch there that we were on, and she is around horses all the time, but she hadn't been on a horse for 4 years, since her horse died 4 years prior to that. And even before that, she was always a little bit weird of horses. She actually wrote me a letter afterwards thanking me so much for the changes that happened, because she told me when she was younger, she loved horses, but she was always uneasy around them. She had a horse, but was still like not always super confident on the horse. And then after her horse died, that was it. Like, no more getting on horses. Like, she was scared of horses. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Which is funny, because more often the people who have horses tend to not want to get on the horses because they have all these other points of view. Like, it's not my horse. I don't trust this horse. This horse is unpredictable, blah, blah, blah. And they get on the horse and they're like, oh my God, I can trust other horses. Or all kinds of weird stuff can happen. But this girl, so we had her get up on the horse for the trust exercise, and she sat up there, and I had no idea that she hadn't been on a horse in 4 years. I just figured she knew everything about horses because she works at the horse place. I was like, I just went with the energy. And she laid back on the horse, and she got off, and she got down, and she was just so happy, and she was like crying and stuff. And she didn't speak English, so she didn't tell me what happened, but she wrote in the letter afterwards, like, this is mind-blowing, and I'm so grateful because I haven't been on a horse in 4 years. I was scared of them. I got on your horse, or not my horse, but the horse in the class, and something definitely changed. And I went riding on that horse the next day again, and I had no fear. It was the smoothest ride. It was so joyful. And I've been riding almost every day since. And she was like, I can't thank you enough for the tools and everything. And this class is basically like, this class is real. I was like, yes. So that was super cool. And a lot of people, teenagers come to the classes who think they're afraid, and then the horses and the teenagers end up bonding like crazy. And almost every single person that thinks they're afraid of the horse, that is gone within the first half of the day.
Wow. And how have working with horses and facilitating these classes, how has that changed you in your life?
Oh my gosh. When I first, I'm like, holy crap. Am I allowed to say shit? Holy crap.
I still don't know the answer to that question. I often have somebody curse on and go, is that okay? And I'm like, I don't actually know, but you did, so, oh well.
Yep. I did it. So, the beginning, when I was first doing these classes, I'm like, what am I doing? Because I had fear of horses too, even though I was the facilitator. I'm like, I'm a fraud. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, but I'm just going to go for it. Let's see. So, but I didn't know that I was completely picking up on everybody else's points of view about horses riding. Past lifetimes is a huge thing. Like, how many lifetimes have you died on a horse, or has the horse died because of you, or all these things. All of those things are still present in the energy of how you feel about horses today. So we get rid of all of that stuff, and the fear starts to dissipate. But when I started working with horses, the very first class I gave, I could tell someone was doing the lunge exercise and the energy was getting weird, so I took the horse for her and started lunging the horse, and the horse actually kicked me in the arm, and it made this crazy loud crack. And everyone's like, are you okay? I'm like, actually, yeah. But the horse kicked me in such a way that it just landed on my arm flat and just made a loud pop, and it wasn't hurt, nothing was wrong. And I see this horse all the time, and she's such a good facilitator, and I hate her and love her at the same time. She's amazing. But she was basically kicked me, who are you being? Quit being that. And she is one sassy little mofo, so she will let you know when you're not being you. And she knew exactly how to get me and how to pop me out of whatever I was being and whatever the participant was being too, which wasn't them, which was really cool. But the more classes I did, the first walking behind a horse, which I didn't have before. I was massaging horses' butts. I was always behind horses. But I started becoming more scared of walking behind them, or are they going to kick me, or are they going to bite me, and all these weird things. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? And so this is going to get a little weird gets into an entity thing. I was like, okay, so what is this? Why am I scared, and is this mine? No, it's not actually mine. So whenever fear is never, ever, ever, ever yours, it's literally either you're using it to cover up a capacity or a potency you have, or you're just taking it from somebody else. So I was like, this is so weird because it's just here. It's been here for a couple months, and what is this? So I'm like, is this an entity or something else? And I got entity. And it just so happened that this entity or ghost who used to ride horses and he knew everything about horses was just sitting there like following me around because I started doing these things, and he was telling me all of his points of view about how I should be with the horse. Don't walk behind the horse, which is a huge point of view, which is just a point of view. Like, you shouldn't be picking the feet that way. You shouldn't be getting on that way. Like, all these things he was just telling me I shouldn't be doing it this way, which was making me scared and unsure. So finally I cleared that guy, and I said, hey, you either need to be cleared, like you need to clear, or you need to get out of here. You can't hang around with me anymore. If you're going to hang around, you're going to have to come to a class, like in a body. And so he did go away after that, and I didn't have fear after that anymore. But every single class, I gain more awareness and more confidence, and I just learn so much. Basically, like, every class is unpredictable, and every class allows me to grow into something that I wasn't the day before or wasn't the class before. And it lets me know that I've never had people's back in the way that I know I can now through these classes.
Wow. So how can people find you?
Well, they can find me either on the ConsciousHorseConsciousRider.com website or MyAcousticLife.com website, or on Facebook it's Alison Alma Cox, or Instagram I think it's Alison Alma Cox too. I think those are all the places. Or just come to Denver.
Cool. And speaking of, so when's your next event in Denver?
In Denver, we're actually there's a Talk to the Entities class next month on March 14th or 15th in Fort Collins, which I have not really even been there yet, ever. I've driven through, but that should be a very interesting class. I'm so excited. We get to play with entities in Fort Collins, and then we're going to set up a summer, either early spring and or summer Conscious Horse, Conscious Rider class in Denver too. We just are waiting on getting the dates set.
Cool. So if you had a few closing comments on how to encourage people to see the gift in unpredictability, what would you say?
Basically, I feel like I'm saying basically a lot, but I like that word right now. Basically.
Sorry, mine's truly. Everything's truly. Truly, true. Truly, truly.
I'm like, what's the opposite of basically? If you were going to do new word now is I'm so extra, you know? It's like, what could you choose today that wasn't basic, that wasn't your normal routine? Anything that's your routine, it's fine to have your routine. It's fine to organize your life and have a routine and make sure you get things done. However, what if you could choose like one thing or two things a day that were so extra, that were unpredictable, that were going to create barriers for your life in the future? You could choose things that were actually going to surprise you. What if you could, like, it's like making your bed in the morning. You don't have to make your bed in the morning because you're going to sleep in it again at night. But if you make your bed in the morning, you're actually giving yourself a gift in the future for when it's time to go to bed. So, like, what unpredictable gift or action choice can you make today that will gift you 10 times more than you ever thought possible in the future?
What are some ways that you ask yourself, like, that you get yourself into that question? What are some questions?
Bored so easily. I'm like, or if I either get bored or I get, like, anxious. I'm like, what am I doing? Let's see. Some questions. What will my life be like in 5 years if I choose this? And what will my life be like in 5 years if I don't choose this? And every morning I ask the universe to surprise me. What grand and glorious adventures can I have today? And so I'm always looking at every single thing that presents itself every day. I'm like, ooh, is this a possibility that will create greater? Is this a possibility that will create greater? Would it create greater to tip your waitress double for no reason, but would it change her life? And would that create greater for everybody in the future? Like weird little things that you can choose every day that will just change the world. It will make the future unpredictable. The way the future is going right now, the scientists have it pretty predicted and everything is going to hell and all this stuff. Right. So if you didn't want that predictable future, what unpredictable choice could you make today that would create a greater world and future right away?
Well, that is an absolutely incredible question. I cannot thank you enough, Alison, for this conversation and this lovely little visit of the gift of unpredictable.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, have a wonderful day.
Thanks, you too.